everybody, and welcome to another exciting and jam-packed edition of Modern Day Philosophers. I'm your host, Danny Lobell. You're the listeners. I rely on you to listen for there to be a purpose for me to speak. Thank you for joining me again. I hope you're all doing great. I really do. I wish I could ask you. Well, I am asking you. I wish you could reply, but you can. You can reply. thecomical@yahoo.com. You could always email me and tell me how you're doing. I'd love to hear from you. And, of course, if you ever feel so inclined to make a donation and support the show, that's also very appreciated. And you can do that by going to moderndayphilosophers.net and clicking donate. If you make a donation of $20 or more, I will send you some free Tweaked Audio earbuds. Tweakedaudio.com, and then you can buy them if you want right from the site. With the promo code MDP, you get 1/3 off your order and free shipping. A little business to get out of the way. First of all, I don't do the road too much, but I'm about to be in St. Paul, Minnesota. Come and see me. Come see me do stand-up. If you're in that neighborhood of the world, I'm going to be there from the 28th of May to the 31st. It's Wednesday night through Saturday night at the Joke Joint Comedy Club in St. Paul, Minnesota. You could get tickets for that online. Go to jokejointcomedyclub.com. You may have heard that bucking at the beginning, that bucking at the top of the episode. That is, in fact, a chicken that I got today. Some of you know I don't have a job outside of this podcast and the stand-up gigs that I randomly get. And I don't have health care. And there's a subsidized weight loss program in my neighborhood that has accepted me as long as I get medical clearance. So I had to go in to get a medical exam, which I had to schedule a month ago with a free clinic an hour away in East Los Angeles. And I sat through an hour of traffic in the hot car to get there, and when I got there, they'd screwed up the appointment time at the free clinic, and they said, no worries, go to this other branch of our free clinic 40 minutes away, and they'll see you. And so I went to that branch, and when I got there, there's just like a room of broken down people, just sad, broken down people in this free clinic, and I just walked in and a wave of sadness hit me, and I was like, all right, I guess I'll be sitting here for a long time amongst these, poor unfortunate souls, these sick people of society like me who haven't amounted to enough to get decent medical attention. And the sadder part of that story is they wouldn't even see me there. They're like, oh, they made a mistake telling you to come here. And at that point, I was just ready to explode with anxiety, with exhaustion, with too much car fumes, with too much sitting in a car, with too much frustration from an awful system that treats the poor in this country horribly, of which I am one, unfortunately. And I got back in the car with Kylie, who came with me, and we started to head home when we passed an enchanted pet shop, a real ghetto pet shop. But I love ghetto pet shops because they are like enchanted storybook pet shops, and I always love to check them out. And it had like graffiti images of animals on the side of the wall. I was like, oh, this is exciting. And we went in, and it surpassed my wildest imagination. It had every kind of animal in there. Cockatoos and macaw parrots and doves and pigeons and turtles and snakes and lizards and rabbits and guinea pigs and giant rats and little mice and chinchillas and iguanas. It was so cool. Bearded dragons. And it was a hole-in-the-wall pet shop. It was so small, and all the animals were squawking and chirping, and the cages were rattling. And it was like, it's not your Petco. It doesn't have that corporate emptiness where the animals are all like drugged up, and there's no fun. They're all crazy animals, and the fish even have more personality than Petco fish, which I also think are on drugs. They just keep them all sedated. It felt alive. There was electric vibration in this pet shop, and it was so cool. And they had chickens. And those of you who know, if you're in the know, you know I got a soft spot for chickens. I love chickens. I used to have them in Brooklyn. It's been a long time since I raised chickens, but I love chickens. And they had these little chickens. I'm like, what are these? They're like, these are dwarf chickens. I'm like, what does that mean? They don't get any bigger than this. They're tiny little mini chickens. And they're damn cute. And in my crazy haze of too much being in the car and too much disappointment and feeling powerless in the world, I guess it gave me some power to buy a chicken. I was like, you know what? I might be broke and I might not be able to afford a doctor's visit, but hell, I could afford a mini chicken. And so the car ride back, the chicken sat on my lap in the car, and here she is. We've named her Sonia. Our last chicken in Brooklyn was Donia. And I have a mini chicken. I'll let you know if I have any mini eggs soon. I'm going to build a little hutch for her in the backyard here, and that's the story there. Now, if only I didn't need a checkup, if only I just had an ache or a pain, something that required something you might see a physical therapist for, I wouldn't have had this whole hassle today. I wouldn't have had all this disappointment because I could have used a terrific service, an incredible service you might have heard me talk about before on this very show. What is this service you refer to, Danny? Tell us. We cannot wait one more second. I'll tell you right now. Calm yourself down. It's called simpletherapy.com. Simpletherapy.com? What is it? Well, let's say you have an ache in your neck, your back, your shoulder, your elbow, your wrist, your hip, your knee, your ankle. Well, you name it. You can't go to a regular physical therapist to feel better. Why not? Well, you know why not. It's hard to get off work 2 to 3 times a week, especially for something that's not deadly. You go to your boss, you say, hey, I got an ache or a pain. They say, get back to moving the wheel. You have to go back to that big wheel and just keep pushing it. That resistance wheel, I don't know what kind. You work in the bottom of a coal-powered ship. You have to push the wheel all day. They get back down there. Push the wheel. They're not going to let you off. These bosses, they're mean. They're mean, some of them. And let's say they do let you off. Then you're going to have to sit in that hot car, maybe in traffic like I did. No fun. Now, let's say you say, hey, you know what, Danny? I don't have a job. I don't have a boss. This doesn't apply to me. Well, maybe you're like me and you don't have health insurance. Or maybe you do have health insurance and it's still $30 a pop every time you go there for a copay. There's got to be a better solution. You're thinking there must be. In 2014? Well, don't worry. You're right. There is. It's called simpletherapy.com. A group of genius doctors got together, and they created a fancy schmancy algorithm with hundreds of online videos whereby some very nice exercise therapists, and they sent in a random fact that one of them used to be at Chuck Norris's stand-in in movies. I don't know why they gave me that information, but I don't know. It made me laugh, so I'll share it with you. Every time you log in, this is how it works. Every time you logged in, you get served up new sets of exercises based on your own feedback from the last session. So they're going to custom tailor an exercise regimen for you to help you with whatever your ache or pain is. Then you repeat that until you're feeling better. And the best part is it only costs $30 for 3 months, which is nothing. It's the price of one copay. It's even not a lot of money for the poor. I know that as one of us. $30 for 3 months, $10 a month. It's worth trying it out. And if you want, you can go there and sign up for a 1-week free trial. So that's even easier. You don't have to risk any money. Try it out for a week for free. There's a blue button on their homepage, and you can start getting better with personalized sessions within minutes. Simpletherapy.com. All right, without further ado, here's the show with the very funny and talented Mr. Andy Kindler. I had a lot of fun talking to him, and I hope you enjoy it. The intro song, and then my talk with Andy Kindler.
Hello, and welcome to Modern Day Philosophers.
Modern Day Philosophers.
Having failed to pay attention in school, Danny Lobell, now older and wiser, will attempt to learn basic philosophy 101. Our young hero will be joined by today's top comedians, philosophers all their own. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Danny Lobell.
Modern Day Philosophers.
How you doing? I'm here with the great Andy Kindler. Well, I'll start that again because I use the great too often when I like people.
It doesn't bother me a lot.
Is that okay?
Yeah, because I could joke about it.
All right. Well, let's keep it rolling then.
Yeah.
Are you okay? But I don't want you to feel like the greatness is diminished by the fact that I've called a lot of people great.
No.
But if I think someone's great, I call them great.
Well, I feel bad that was the intro I supplied you on an index card. I type out an intro. It's now my honor to introduce the great Andy Kindler, and I type it out on an index card. No, I type it out on a computer. I print that out, and I cut it out, and I put it on an index card. This is an honor to be here, Danny. I'm a fan. I'm a Danny Lobell fan, and I also am ready to market Danny Lobell fans.
Thank you.
They're oscillating.
They're oscillating.
But then they've got emotional problems, and they will stop for a half hour and reevaluate. I don't know why I said that.
Yeah.
It's always funny. I'm very much influenced by Richard Lewis, so it's always funny to go to, this guy's got emotional problems. That's not a Richard Lewis line,
right?
But still. But I also want to say, Danny, it is a pleasure to be here. I've heard about the dish of batteries.
Oh, really?
Yes. No, I haven't, but I made that up. But I love it. And will it be okay for me to take a used battery?
Yeah, I'll pick one that's appropriate for you, just like the show with the philosopher. I'll find the right used battery.
How about the Energizer Bunny? Because my jokes keep a-coming.
How about the pink one? Here's a nice pink Energizer
is that a
battery.
That whole thing was a joke. I don't really want to take a pink battery.
I know, but I kind of want to follow through on it now.
Oh, okay.
It's a special Valentine's Day edition.
Thank you very, very much, Danny, as I put it right back in the bowl. But you know what? Let's get that for the show purposes. Let's get that let's get the sound effects of me putting it in my wallet. Why would I put a battery in my wallet?
Probably heat up the whole wallet. You ever put a battery in your pocket and it gets super hot?
No.
Yeah.
Why is that happening?
I don't know. I thought you might have the answer.
Well, in the 90s, when there was a lot of heat from my career, when there was a lot of buzz, when there was a lot of buzz around my career, it felt like there was a joy buzzer in my pocket.
Right.
Yeah. That was my favorite prank that I never did, but sounded like a fun prank.
Putting...
Yeah, well, you're probably too young to remember the back of the comic books. So,
the thing with your hand and you
the
hold
joy
it
buzzer.
Yeah.
The other one was onion gum.
Yeah, I used to read these old comics. So the X-ray specs and buy a monkey for $7. I always wanted that.
Sea monkeys.
Yeah.
Do you know the X-ray specs work? You can see a woman's breasts.
You still have them?
I still have them.
They were taken off the market by the government. That's what
because you could see women's breasts. The government is always starting stuff, and but I am glad for politically correct reasons that they stopped with the Mexican jumping beans. Why did they have to be ethnic jumping beans?
I don't know.
Maybe did they come from Mexico?
You think that'd be offensive to a Mexican? A Mexican jumping bean?
You know what would be offensive to a Mexican? Adam Carolla's constant rants about Mexicans swarming over the border. It is a tradition with me in every podcast to slam Adam Carolla, and hopefully not affecting your relationship with him.
I don't have one, so
good.
I don't think it'll make it.
Stay away from the racists, kids.
I think this is a good transition almost to getting into because Alex picked
the meat. Are we going to get into the meat? This is what the people wait for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the idea. By the way, I love the idea of this podcast. I have not listened to I am a bad person. I've not listened to the podcast yet.
I don't think that makes you a bad person.
I will listen to my episode over and over and over again.
Really?
With the X-ray specs. I'm old. Have I mentioned I'm old? My wife says, please don't mention it anymore, how old I am. Why am I doing it?
You look young. That's the thing.
I am young. I am young because of the cocaine. No, so, no, but I joke in my act, because whenever I launch my act, I like to introduce it. I joke in my act that I'll be in a restaurant. I'll have the linguine with clams. I'm 57. I'll say to the waitress. And that also indicates that I'm old, because linguine with clams is really not a dish that's current. I write that down. I often, during a podcast, will write down an idea. Okay, I've done enough Robin. Idea. I've done enough Robin Williamsing the beginning of this.
And what does that mean?
Robin Williams means not letting anybody else talk. I'm better than Robin Williams. Robin Williams, scientists say that he can't see anything outside of his own vision.
Scientists say.
Yeah, he's like, oh, look at this. Oh, I'm inside my head, man. Oh, look at you. Oh, Danny Lobell. Oh, Lobell. Oh, gitchy, ya, yo. Oh, Patty Lobell. Oh. Did I just say gitchy? 65 degrees downtown. I will do, if there's an open casket at my funeral, and I'm telling you it's going to happen soon. No, I'm going to live forever. I will do the DJ voice while I'm dead.
Would you prefer open or closed?
I would like to open. I'd like you to close for me. Even when I die, I'll have to open for my casket.
Would you? But seriously, do you want people? Would you like people to see you
I
dead?
don't think it's good.
No,
I don't think it's good. Although I just got 2 crowns yesterday.
And you?
No, I got a second crown. So
You
I
wanna
thought,
show 'em off?
Oh, I thought maybe I mouth open, like I'm laughing.
That'd be a great job.
Yeah.
You just pose the guy's face in different positions during the open casket of the funeral. Well, hold on. We're going to take a moment and we're going to change expressions. Yeah, and the guy, he's somebody, you know, they have those videos of like the behind the scenes of like Paranorman with like the guy who animates the little
Oh yeah, I got you.
the claymation guys. They show you it takes thousands of hours to pose the and it's just the guy who's like, you know,
Yeah.
well, you know, there's so many expressions on the human face, and you know,
I would love a stop motion documentary about my death.
but it's just,
So see me like I'm in the casket.
I do stop motion with the deceased. It's something
Yeah.
my wife and I started. Was just a little family business, and
First
it
I
took
put
off.
Davy and Goliath.
How old do you really want to get if you had to?
Oh, if I
choose?
had to go for references?
I mean, if in life, what do you think is too old?
Well, here's the thing. I'm afraid of everything. I'm less afraid as I get older of dying, but when I would like to live forever. But I know that's not realistic. Although one of my favorite comedians, Peter Gawke, who I don't know if people remember him as a comedian, he's a writer now, but his joke was, I plan to live forever. So far, so good. Is that a classic joke?
Yeah.
I would like to. I see people in their 90s getting around nicely, so that'd be good. 95,
You'd be okay with 95.
95, 96.
What would have to go? Because when we came in here, you joked that your hearing was going, which was obviously a joke. But let's say your hearing did go. Would you be okay? Keep going with no hearing?
If that was the thing that pushed me over the edge,
What would be
that
the thing?
terrible.
Like, what would be too much?
My sex life started to drop off.
That-
Although, not to get serious, but Roger Angel, you know him?
No.
He's a really great writer. He writes sports stuff for the New Yorker. He did a thing. He's 93, and he wrote about being 93. It was very interesting. You know, he was also and not in a lascivious. That's the wrong word. But he was talking about how you don't ever not stop being sexual. So that's exciting to me.
A 93-year-old man.
Yeah.
Huh.
I came up with a joke this morning. This erectile. I didn't tweet it because it's a hack joke. This erectile dysfunction stuff is great. See, Alice, I'd love to use it with my wife. I thought I had the best version of that, and I couldn't do it because everyone was doing it. But I thought I had one of the best versions of the wait 4 hours.
Uh-huh.
You know, they said after 4 hours, call your doctor.
Right.
I'd say after 3 hours, I start making arrangements. I cancel my trip to the art museum. That guy must really love Picasso. Cancel my swim class.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it is a classic.
That's a good one. I remember I was working on Jackie Mason's Broadway show selling
I
merchandise.
love when you say that kind of thing. And it's true. I know it's all
Yeah.
true. It's so
Yeah.
great. Is this the one that was politically incorrect?
No,
or-
this one was called Freshly Squeezed, and he had the joke where he goes, "If your erection lasts more than 4 hours, why would I call a doctor? Call 4 more girls." And
Which is, for him, a true story.
yeah, and yeah. Well, I know that. So he said to me, "Are any of these jokes?" One day he goes, "Are any of these jokes? You know, because I don't get out there. Are any of these jokes like being done? Would you say any of them might be a little bit too similar to anything else you've heard out there?" I go, "Well, the only thing I kind of hear a lot of those jokes about the 4 more hours. Oh, go fuck yourself." I realize you're not allowed
That
to.
does not get. Now, when you're experiencing that, is it depressing or you're laughing?
Well, I would laugh, but I knew he was serious. He'd just get so mad if I said. So I was like,
He does not want the truth.
he doesn't
really.
want the truth. No, he didn't want it at all. He just
Go.
wanted.
Hey, you know what? Go fuck yourself. That is the great. Oh God, that one got to me. I need these. You do good impressions.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know what to do with them. I just every now and then.
I think it's a great skill to do with everything with them. But you can do more. I'm assuming you do more than Jim.
Yeah, you know, I haven't honed them very much because I don't know what to do with them.
I have a good premise for him. You ready?
Yeah.
We now go to heaven where there's a very special buffet. That's my setup. You can have that.
Thank you.
We go to heaven where there's a very special buffet, and look, here comes Sammy Davis.
I'm glad you found an original spin there.
Yeah, that was my spin. That's the thing. I don't do the I set up a nice scenario. Yeah. That's what the other guys don't do.
Right.
Your Elon Golds. They don't create a world in
Yeah.
which the impression can live.
Oh man. All right. I got to jump into
Okay,
this
let's
philosophy
do it.
with you. Alex, who picks out the philosophers, says because
Is Alex? Is he a mensch?
he's a great mensch.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, he's an Italian mensch. What is that?
A lanceman? I don't know. I was gonna whatever you were gonna say. I was gonna respond with a
Yeah.
Yiddish thing. Is he
Okay.
a Sabbath goy?
Yeah, he's a Shabbos guy.
Shabbos goy. God damn it! I messed up.
That's all right. You want to take it again?
Yeah.
We'll edit it.
Yeah. Is he your friend Alex? Is he is it Alex?
Alex,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, your friend Alex, the
Yeah.
Italian guy. Is he a Shabbos goy?
I'm gonna keep the first one.
That's to be my new fake laugh guy.
Yeah,
But it was a real laugh when it started.
that one.
No, yeah, I was laughing for real at your original thing.
said when
but
it
then
started.
I realized, no. I was laughing for real at what you said, that you're going to keep the first one, and your timing was excellent. But then I put too much mustard on the laugh. I went, for real, and I went, I better develop a nice fake laugh.
I can see that happening.
I mean, it's my version of the Jimmy Fallon. So great.
So great. So this is good. You do these. Alex says the reason that he picked this guy for you, who he picked, is Michael Foucault, pronounced
Oh, okay.
Fou-
Michel Foucault.
Michel
I've heard the name before.
Foucault.
He's a French philosopher.
Foucault.
Foucault?
Michel Foucault.
You would not kill in France.
No. Have you ever played France?
No, have you ever played France? Sounds like something Leno would ask.
You ever play France?
Yeah, Leno is supposedly. Now, I hope this is a true story that he said this. But if it is, it would be very Leno. Like, I went to Europe. I don't like that town. Wouldn't that be great if it was true? I don't like that town. Hey, plus, I eat the same thing every day. Hamburger. What am I eat something different for? Where would I put my cars? Where would I put my cars? In France, where I had cars.
There's nowhere to store cars in France.
Yeah, there's no one got Peugeot.
So Alex says because Andy is a critic of comedy, I picked a social critic.
Cool.
So that's the connection here, and it's perfect because you're going into it right now.
Yeah.
So it couldn't have been better set up.
That's so good. No, that's so good. What's the matter with me? No, some guy told me about this philosopher who said everything was nonsense, and so that's what he thought I was like. So now, are you going to tell me more about Foucault?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I thought this was like one of those game shows where I just have to go by the name and divine what his philosophy was.
Why don't you come up? What do you think his story would be?
Michel
And then-
Foucault was
yeah.
born in Marseille
Uh-huh.
in 1873.
Uh-huh.
And no, sorry, he was probably, if he was part of the, was there a French Enlightenment?
It had to have been.
Yeah, so he was maybe he was like the 18.
It had to have been.
All right, so
Otherwise,
he's
things would be way too.
1750s
Yeah.
then, if he's
Uh-huh.
influenced in the American Revolution. And his whole thing was enough already with the worrying. And look, I don't enjoy. I think Shakespeare's a hack. Was that his whole thing? Forget the classics. You're the classic.
Be the classic.
That's exactly right. No, I don't know. I can't do it.
No, I thought
That's
that was
my
pretty,
ad-libbing
that was
skills
pretty
is-
good.
Yeah, my ad-libbing skills are in the toilet.
At first, he was just an old Jewish woman. Enough already.
Enough already. Look, je ne sais quoi. All right, look, come see. His whole thing was come see, come sa. Why is he an Italian guy from Italy now, from France?
That's great. All right, so here it is. Here it is, Michel. In the archaeology of knowledge, Foucault
about it. Remember that when that Italian, when Dice used to do that Foucault bit in the 90s? Foucault about it.
It was one of his most popular ones.
Yeah. And he also said, "Go fuck yourself." Like
after nursery rhymes, he went into philosophy.
Hickory dickory dock. Foucault about it.
I think, therefore I get blowjobs. Oh!
I actually came up with a nice tweet that my nephew said to stick in the act, and he was right. And the tweet was, "I think, therefore am I right, ladies?" And I put it right in the act, and it works, whereas most tweets do not work.
Oh, that's, yeah.
I'm following you, baby.
Oh, really? How's it been so far?
I am so self-absorbed. I didn't know there was an area where you could see other people's things.
Right.
I'm like Louis C.K. I don't follow anybody. I tweet, and then I look into the interaction area to see what people said.
Is that what he does?
I don't know. He used to. I haven't followed him. I haven't been. I've been obsessed with him recently.
Okay. Well, Foucault says that history isn't a story like watching a movie. He says, we see it that way because we have imprinted a comfortable form of the past. When we do this, history is changed into what we want it to be rather than what it actually is. The real thing is the meeting of different causes and ideas that we discount when we get creative with the facts. History is an interesting flowing thing, and so are we as individuals who take part in it.
What was that part where you said right a couple of sentences ago, where you look back at the events? Or?
So yeah, I think what he's saying here is that basically we create our own history
based on how we want
to perceive it. It's not. He said,
right.
He's saying, I think that our memory plays tricks on us, and we, imprinted on the past. We do this. We change it to be what we want it to be rather than what it actually is.
Right. And what's the next sentence after that? Folks, I'm sorry that I had to have
No, this is fine.
Danny repeat it. But a lot of times people write into the podcast and they go, Danny. It's I love the podcast. I love philosophy. I love the part where the guest doesn't listen quite well and you repeat the information.
Sincerely,
a Jew.
He goes, the real thing is the meeting of different causes and ideas that we discount when we get creative with the facts.
Oh, in other words, you don't want to see what you don't want to see. When You're creating your own scenario.
Yeah, we're building our own story in a way. And I think that's true of history, like in the books. When people say history is of the winners.
Right. Yes.
Written by the winners. But I think he's saying this with our personal history, too. When we look back at our lives, we've sort of made a story in our heads of what our life was, opposed to necessarily what it was.
To me, that dovetails with the whole idea of everything. It's like I've realized that I have a sentimental view of everything in a way. I mean, I have, like, my childhood, I have painful memories and things, but then there's like you kind of remember a time when everything seemed to be, like, I grew up in the 60s, so I was, unlike the comedians of today who, I love the transition from, we kind of love the 60s counterculture to now, those dirty hippies, you know what I mean?
Right.
Of course, it can be really fun, like Daniel Klaus. You know Daniel Klaus?
No.
Yeah, he did Ghost World and
okay.
Yeah, and he wrote the great thing. He writes a thing about hippie bear, and so I mean there are parts of the 60s, but like because I was young in the 60s, I had an even more romanticized view of that whole time period. So yeah, I think what is the real truth about any of these things. And also, I was listening to something on NPR because you know what I'm saying, very intellectual, and they were talking about. Guy was talking about how when your field of vision, like you can't really see anything at the sides, so your brain actually does make up. Like if you went into a room, there would be a lot of things you actually had seen in that room, but your brain will not to be able to function. Your brain discards different things so that you can see certain things. Whereas if you saw everything, you wouldn't be able to discern between this and that. But what's true is you're filling in the blanks of your field of vision. And that I think is also true about how you look at history or whatever. And of course, to me, it bothers, I'm more bothered by it. And I don't know how Foucault was probably more well adjusted than me. and more philosophical. When I hear someone like Maher, bash Muslims, which he does all the time, and that's not even about him constructing a history that's like, how he wants to see it. That's complete ignorance of history. Like, you don't know that there was an Inquisition. You don't know, you just focus on this one thing that because he wants to be the edgy guy, right, or whatever, or he hates all religion now, and he hates people who are religious. He's a part of that movement. So then everything has to fit into that worldview. So I think people do that all the time. I'm actually amazed. I'm kind of like I'm a one-trick pony with the being obsessed with how people. I just never thought in my lifetime we'd get to a point where people would be. I was raised to like whatever people believed, as long as they weren't bothering me. Why would I be angry at them or treat them like they're stupid or And also, how do I know what they believe? And so I've been so anti this whole movement of like, and also I think it's like when I was 8, I made this argument many times. When I was 8 years old, I realized the Bible wasn't literal. Who are these people all of a sudden coming up now to say, hey, the Bible's not literal? Like 3% of the people maybe believe that creationism. And then the other thing is like, it's interesting you're talking about with Foucault about how people look at history. I think the other part of it is some people are involved, especially now. I think there's great things going on in the world, but there's also very tough things, and people are starved and they can't. So like when they do these polls where like all these like angry atheists, they do these polls and 40% of the people they believe in creationism or they don't believe in evolution, or it's like people don't care. They don't care about Darwin in their daily life. They're not denying it. It's just, but if you ask them about it in a poll, they don't know about it or they don't care about it. And so like to extrapolate, yes, there's danger everywhere. And there's look at the thing in Arizona. They want to pass a law, religious. I can say. I actually tweeted, I can knock an old lady down the street for religious reasons.
Yeah.
It's like, those things are always dangerous. But what's even more dangerous to me is like let's target people again. But now this time, let's target them because we want them to believe a certain thing, which is nothing.
Right. It's some kind of societal pressure either way, right? It's just either believe this or don't believe this, which is a belief. It's still a pushiness of trying to push a certain agenda.
They claim it's not, though. The atheists, they don't say they not believing. They don't believe is a belief, but I think it is.
But
it clearly is.
I think they also they always point the finger at religion and stuff, but I think it's just pure hatred. It's not based on religion. I think the people in Arizona can hide behind the Bible and say this is the reason. But if you took that away from them, they'd come up with a new reason. Well, it's nothing to do with it. It's nothing to do with it at all.
Well, you're 1,000% right, and this is really where they're missing the boat completely. These things are political; they're not religious. It's like you really think Osama bin Laden was like a religious man? No, it's like not only do I absolutely believe that Muhammad, that all the major figures were basically positive figures. It's a way to if I can convince this guy that he's going to go to heaven if he flies a plane into the tower, that's a great way to manipulate him.
It's a manipulation tactic, yeah.
Hitler did it too. Well, Stalin was an atheist. Do I want to say, that was his problem, was he didn't have enough? It's almost always based on something that has nothing to do with the religion. It's a perversion of the religion.
Right.
And by not focusing on what you're saying, it's the hate. Focus on the hate.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, what they want to do is they want to say, you stop believe. The problem is this book that was written.
Right.
Because look, in this book it says you could sacrifice a goat and stick it up your ass. When was that? Leviticus 9 said, take your mother-in-law and punch her in the face and cut her up into chewable parts.
Right.
I don't know why I went so graphic, but it's like no, it's almost always the core issue, like you say, is hate.
Yeah.
They don't want they don't want the gay. Would they not want the one gay? They wouldn't want a gay. They wouldn't make a gay cake.
A gay cake.
That was their religion. What religion says, and you shall not make cakes?
All cakes are a little gay.
And no letters, Jezebel, or whoever is the. You're a very, very perceptive man. I don't know why the rumor on the street is. I think it's always the backhanded compliment. You're very bright.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, why wouldn't I be bright? Right?
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm glad I changed your mind. You thought I was an idiot for a while.
Hey, spread it around a little bit.
All right, so here's a bit more on Michel Foucault. Michel Foucault, the French-born Paul Michel Foucault. He shortened his name.
Paul Michel.
Yeah, he didn't want to sound like the hair product guy.
I was going to make that joke. We think alike.
Sorry, can I buy it off you?
No.
It's going to those guys.
It's yours now. Parallel development, but you got to it first. So now I have to drop it. I had already imagined it in my act. This Paul Michel Foucault, anybody familiar with him? No, Andy. Also, we neglected to look at a clip of your act online.
Right.
And we don't like it.
He lived from October 15th, 1926.
I was born. Are you kidding me?
Are you October 15th?
October 16th.
So close.
And 1926 is my wife's and my lucky number because her dad passed away, but my dad and her dad are born in 1926, and that's our lucky number.
Well, we set this up with that.
Is
knowledge.
he coming in? I swear to God, I
That's
thought that
right.
guy was an older guy, like Foucault. I thought it was like the for some reason I had in my mind it was the 1700s.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so he has passed away. I
It's
assume.
because he threw in Enlightenment. That's why.
Yeah,
And he lived till June 25th, 1984.
young
Does that date mean anything?
was it? 98.
June 25th?
1984. Am I right, George Orwell? I'm checking out, he said. He didn't. When I used to go to museums or when I read a book or anything, all I look at first is how long the guy lived. And I go, that seemed to be a good enough age.
Otherwise, you're not interested. He doesn't.
No.
have enough
I
life
feel
experience.
sad. No. I'm still be interested in the art, but
Right.
it gets sad because now I'm sad about him. He was 58.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Is this a way of you telling me that I'm going to die soon?
No.
Okay.
You're gonna live to be very old. And
Thank you.
Lose your hearing.
And unsuccessful. And people will not remember my name. And when I die, I've already paid several people, obituary people, to
write up
sweeten
some
it.
good stuff.
Sweeten it.
Sweeteners. Well, maybe you can get the
a lot of-
stop motion guy and
That-
put together a whole thing from it.
Did I pull out my mic? I'm still good.
Are you
I
good?
pulled on it.
Does
Yeah.
it sound
All right. So October 15th, 1926, and then he died in 84.
June 25th, 1984, which is the summer.
And right before his 59th birthday.
It's a nice
No,
nice
58th
time to
birthday.
die in the summer. I think
It is nice.
you don't want to be a winter death.
Well, also because who can stand the humidity? Is what I always say. But not June though. I don't see
June is okay. Yeah, I think it's
June
more,
gloom. If it was in LA, June gloom.
Yeah,
Have you experienced June gloom yet?
I've been here in June. I don't know how gloomy
It just
I was.
means it gets foggy by the beach, and oh my God, the night. Oh, how do we put up with all this crazy weather?
Right. Yeah, they have to exaggerate all the weather here to make
Yeah.
it feel like life is still happening. He was a French philosopher, historian of ideas, a social theorist, a philologist.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Philologist?
A philologist.
Oh my God! You
We'll
continue.
have to Google now.
Should I look it up?
Yeah.
A philologist is the study of language. If we are to believe Wikipedia, it's the study of language in written historical sources. It is a combination of literary criticism, history, and linguistics. It is most commonly defined as the study of literary texts and written records, the establishment of their authenticity and their original form, and the determination of their meaning. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
that makes
with what he
sense.
does. Yeah.
And a literary critic.
Yes.
His theories address the relationship between power and knowledge and how they are used to form a social control through societal institutions. Well, that's kind of what we were talking about earlier there.
Bill Maher.
Yeah, just the idea of just power and knowledge using religion or anything else.
Yes.
It's
To
just
accrue power. Yeah.
right. It's just a manipulation tactic.
And people, I think people love it. Like, you ever listen to those, probably Art Bell? Does that ring a bell? It was Art Bell, Coast to Coast. And it would be all this supernatural stuff, parapsychological stuff.
Okay.
About people, like you'd say Area 51. And then whenever he would bring people on, they would always talk about, and then my altimeter. So there's always some kind of gauge that they're talking about. Yes, and I went into the zone, and my altimeter and gauge meter was reading. And then all of a sudden you're like, this guy has some facts. He's got knowledge.
Right,
This
right.
could be true.
Yeah, that's it.
Otherwise, how would he know all these nautical terms?
Then you're sold.
Yeah, 1 click back, 60 knots. He must have found an alien.
But then, yeah. And then he turns out to be completely nuts.
Yeah, but how could he be nuts with all the ability to express himself?
Right, yeah. This guy at at LA Fitness in the jacuzzi. I was talking to him for about 10 minutes before I realized he was completely crazy.
Oh my God, that's it. I hope you remembered that. That's all I need to hear. That sums up life. I was in a jacuzzi at LA Fitness, talked to a guy for 10 minutes, and that is absolutely true because there's a fine line between the most brilliant human being in the world,
Right.
and someone who's not something's wrong.
And I remember the moment where I had this, because I was listening to him, like really listening to him, and I was like, I can learn something from this guy, and I was taking it in, and then about somewhere around 10 minutes in, something hit me, and I go, I think he's nuts. I think everything I'm taking seriously here it makes no sense. But I wasn't completely convinced until he told me. And he was an old English guy who sounded like a fake voice. I wish I was making this up. He go, I'll tell you something else. I don't give a fuck because I'm homeless. I'm like, well, there it is. It's confirmed. It's confirmed. This was and I'm also sharing a jacuzzi with a homeless man.
Right.
And then I was like,
So that got into now what Foucault would say is look at all these.
Yeah.
You have an image of homeless people.
An
you
old
brought to the
English
table.
homeless man.
Yeah.
It was just bizarre because you don't expect old Englishmen to be homeless in Los Angeles.
Not with their fastidious behavior.
That was such a great.
How do you get into LA Fitness is what I want to know.
Probably, I think a lot of the homeless people just sign up for the showers.
Why did I laugh at that? It's true.
It's probably true, yeah.
God, what's the matter with me?
Yeah.
Oh, it must be so nice for me with my middle class background. People are poor. Woo!
But this guy, he was absolutely stark raving mad, I tell you.
But delightful.
And he kept saying, no, I'm saying, after everything he said, no, I'm saying. No, I'm saying.
People say that a lot, though. They that's a thing that people do. Like is
He says, I was fucking hunting down Nazis. I go,
what did he do with Nazis?
he says he was hunting down Nazis.
Right.
Nazis.
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 I was hunting. I can't do the voice.
I was hunting Nazis. And I still do it. Know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Is this the
I
part
still
where
do
you
it.
thought he was brilliant, or this was afterwards?
Well, this is afterwards, and I started thinking, wait a minute. Why is he still hunting Nazis? Like, I think the
You know
time
why?
for that
Because
is over.
he's old, and they're very old. And
Yeah.
slow.
And I said to him, when's the last time you hunted a Nazi down? Oh, I done one just last Wednesday. Queen's Army at your service. Anytime you need it.
You might be the only human being in the world who bought into this guy's thing for 10 minutes.
And the saddest part is, I was disappointed when I went back again the day after, and
And
he wasn't there.
there.
I was like, it's the same time. Where is he? This is the kind of shit I live for. Where's this guy? What if it was all true?
I said, Nancy. Did you think I...
Hunt Nancy's.
Yeah. What are you, a Nancy? That used to be a...
Yeah, that was a gay term,
slur.
right?
Yeah.
Are you a Nancy boy?
That's
See?
not
I
an
knew that.
effective slam.
Yeah.
Right?
Nancy boy.
I'm not hurt by it.
Were there any boys named Nancy?
That would be bad.
That would.
I'm not gay, and my name is Nancy.
My name is Nancy.
I'm not... Right.
Especially during those times.
Yeah, that dude did not want that name.
But what if he was like a real jock and he could turn it around? Like, you know what? What?
That's your sitcom.
Yeah. My name is Nancy. You
got a problem with that?
You got a problem? No.
I used to love that Colin Quinn bit about, was Gandhi nonviolent, or was he nonviolent because he was 100 pounds soaking wet? If he was like 6 feet tall. You got a problem? Got a problem with Gandhi? You want to go? Oh, my glasses. You want to go?
Okay. Michel was born in Poitiers, France, to an upper middle class family. Foucault was educated. Oh, they went first name and then last name in that sentence. Was educated at the Lycée Henry IV.
Lycée?
Lycée,
Lycée
with
Lycée.
Lycée.
What's the matter with
That
that?
was Lycée.
My fourth grade French is really making me. It's very easy for me to make you feel less than.
Thank you.
It means school
I already took the
College.
does it really mean school
or college, something like that.
the lycée?
Yeah, the college of.
the Lycée Henry IV, the College of Henry IV.
Wow.
And then what's école? École?
Studied.
Really?
No, à l'école. That's school too.
Maybe this whole
That
thing
is a
should,
school.
This thing should be in French. The whole thing.
À l'école is to school.
Why couldn't they just say the College of? Why'd they have to throw in lychee? Oh, this is where we'll make them feel stupid.
Yeah. Hey, Frenchie, back it off.
Normale supérieure.
Yeah, superior.
Superior.
Yeah, like the best.
I'm going to keep reading the English.
Yeah.
Where he developed an interest in philosophy and came under the influence of his tutors, Jean Hippolyte and Louis Althusser. He spent several years as a diplomat abroad. He went back to France. He published his book, The History of Madness, and then he went on. The History of Madness.
That's interesting. Well, now if he's French born in 26, so I relate to everything to World War II because I was obsessed with World War II and I studied it in in college and high school and junior high school and every day. So when he was of fighting age or whatever, I wonder if he moved. He wasn't Jewish, right?
I don't think so.
But
No.
I wonder how he dealt with the whole Germany going Nazi thing. I mean, French going Nazi thing, French collaboration.
Yeah, I don't see anything about him being in the service here.
Yeah, or leaving though. Not so much the service, but I wonder.
I'm trying to.
I see
maybe,
what I'm doing.
Maybe that is why he left.
You know what
I
I'm
don't
doing? I'm building in. I am assuming his history based on my preconceptions.
No, you might be right. In 1970, he was admitted to the Collège de France, membership of which he retained until his death. He also became active in a number of left-wing groups involved in anti-racist campaigns, anti-human rights abuses. See, you're probably right. That's probably why he left.
I like the way that's a left wing. he didn't like racism.
And the struggle for penal reform.
Cool. I love this cult.
He went on to publish The Archaeology of Knowledge, which is the one we were talking about before. So he went on to publish The Archaeology of Knowledge, Discipline and Punish, and the History of Sexuality. The history of sexuality must have been a fun one to get into.
I would like to read that one.
Yeah. In these books, he developed the archaeological and genealogical methods which emphasized the role power plays in the evolution of discourse in society. Foucault died in Paris of neurological problems because of the madness and compounded by HIV/AIDS. He was the first public figure in France to have died from the disease, with his partner Daniel Defert founding the AIDS charity in his memory. So he was gay. So he probably left Nazi France
right
for that reason.
Nazi France. You go one step further. Yeah, they called it Nazi France for a couple of years.
Nazi France didn't catch on like
they
Nazi
called it
Germany.
Adolf Hitler's France. An Adolf Hitler country.
We're working on titles right now. We're trying to come up with something that really makes it feel Jew unfriendly.
Yeah.
What do you think about
Not your father's France? No.
Not the France that Bubby used to make?
Yeah. The thing is that what he's saying though, you know what's interesting is the power thing. I notice a lot because I do a lot of jokes on show business and people who are more success. I know that a lot of it is I think I'm past the point of being in the immaturity of, and I don't think I was ever exactly like this. Why is this guy successful when I'm not? It's that's too simplistic a way to look at it. Although that's what everybody on Twitter does. That's how simplistic people think on Twitter. When you're not famous like Ricky Gervais, what do you know? Like that gives you the right then to say things because you're famous. But the idea of power, because I noticed that there gets to be this thing. I'm guilty of. They say, the breaking the rule of you can make fun of I used to say the analogy of you can make fun of Michael Jackson for 5 hours, but then I can't make fun of Adam Carolla or I can't make fun of another
Right.
Larry the Cable Guy. All of a sudden, what are you doing? This is this is our people, But
Right.
a lot of that has to do with power. You know what I mean? It's like someone gets powerful, they get popular, and if you notice in the media, that's all they celebrate. is how popular they are, and and then that becomes they made all this money, so that doesn't mean all critics say I like something, but
Right.
they don't do stories about people you haven't heard of. It's always there's the celebration of the power and the fear of going against that power structure, especially in the entertainment industry. I'll piss this guy off.
Right.
So then that's what I see on TV is a lot of ass kissing bullshit. Now that doesn't mean to me that I would take because there's politics in everything. Because I have politics, like I'll try not to bite the hand that's currently feeding me, and I also don't believe in like being rude to people, or I try to be nice. But you're always kind of like one of it is not playing the game, but politics in the good sense. Like I think
Right.
Obama is a politician in the greatest sense because he's trying to get things done. And so what they criticize him for are things that he couldn't have votes for.
Right.
And whereas like a lot of these, like this guy drives me crazy, this Gasland, the guy who made the movie Gasland.
Okay.
I don't know if you know that movie. It's about fracking.
Oh yeah.
And the truth is that, there's dangerous things about fracking, but it's not true that every movie that comes out is the definitive take on something. So it's like whether it was Waiting for Superman, which I thought was a terrible movie about the school system. My sister was an educator, and but he ends up blaming the teachers, and which I hate because I think teachers try to do the best they can. And similarly with the Gasland guy, it's like he's down there saying Obama's immoral. If he really meant what he said, he wouldn't allow any of these pipelines. Yeah, but those guys don't care. They would have then Romney would have been elected.
Right.
So so is it really about what they care about, or is it really about their own ego and getting in the way? And so I don't know how I got to that point.
You were talking about power and sort of like the idea of taking down guys who are powerful.
Right, or that there are politics involved, and that's why the word politics is politics. You don't always go crazy. Like I'm reading this book about Richard Pryor, and it's great. It's a great book called Furious Cool.
Okay.
I think it's Well, he does the Tom Jones show, and he goes out to a car, and the car is 5 minutes late, and he tells the woman, "If the car's not here in 5 minutes, I'm going to rip your head off and shove it up your ass." And even Tom Jones is telling the story. He goes, he may have been making a joke,
Right.
but it upset everybody there. It's like you learn as you read about Richard Pryor. He had his own. Obviously, he was a genius, but he also didn't like. He just did his own thing a lot of the time, and so I would never do that because, well, first of all, I would think of it like, oh, I don't want to morally upset this person or whatever. So some of those politic things are right in life. That's okay to do, and the other things are because you're afraid of the power structure, and that's not good.
Do you think that it comes out of a fear of the power structure when you go after these guys like Jay Leno and stuff? Do you think part of it is just sort of like out of fear of the power?
Well, my wife thinks that, and my wife's a good moderating influence on me because she, like she'll say things like, "Don't stop hating everything," but her thing is that she thinks she's generally incredibly supportive, but she doesn't want me to be killed. It's like when the stuff happened with Corolla, some of his guys are like goons. You get the feeling that they'll threaten you online, or
Sure,
not
yeah.
him, but
These radio fans are nuts.
Yeah, I'm not talking about him. He never would,
Right.
I wouldn't want to, people always go, well, how would you want to confront these people? No, I don't want to.
Right.
I don't want to be in a room with Adam Carolla. But so she doesn't want me to get killed, but she also doesn't want me to say things, to be careful. But the other part is she thinks is a little self-sabotage.
Right.
And
That's what I was.
I think there is self-sabotage in all of us, and a lot of it. And I've tried to to the degree, because I do think it's cool to be whatever you want to call it, without getting taken with yourself, a mentor in a way. Like I try to, when people do ask you for advice, mostly my advice is don't be so hard on yourself. Don't, because I think that's the thing that comedians do most. I have been nervous to do a TV thing or whatever the thing is, and I would get angry about something that maybe I should get angry about, but I never would have gotten angry about that if I wasn't under this tremendous amount of pressure. And so you get very angry as a way of, as an expression of your fear of, Billy Gardell was on Maron, and he was talking about when he got the part in Mike and Molly. He said, "I'm not coming back." They said, "You have to come back to town." He was on the road for the network thing. I'm not going to do it. I'm not doing that. But he said, because I was scared. I was scared of
Right.
that I wouldn't get it. So I do think that you do things that are scared, but the overriding reason that I do it is because I think it's a very healthy thing. My father does it too. All the people in my life do it. It's a reaction to things that if you didn't react with humor and sarcasm, you would get very depressed about it. So that's what I think. Most of it, the reason why I do it is because I am outraged about Leno, and I'm outraged that people celebrate Jimmy Fallon just because they think he's a nice, this is a nice guy thing. So it's my reaction to the outrage of it, or it's like a roast type thing. I'm just trying to make a joke about it. So, but it's not completely clean. There's always things sneak in, because like early on I did a lot of Holocaust material, and I did things about like I see that trains going to Baltimore. Yeah, Baltimore, Stuttgarten, and I would do jokes like, I lost a lot of family in the camps. Summer camps. It was a canoeing accident, but now I still can't watch the movie Meatballs.
Yeah.
And this guy got very upset. He was a comedy writer, and I had a terrible back and forth with him on the phone. And I felt that 95% of what I was doing was for the right reasons, because I do think that that you can be gratuitous, and I think it's important to see. Am I doing this? It's like when I'm not against language on stage, but I did notice if I say fucking this, fucking that it gets more laughs. So it's like, am I manipulating the laughs?
Yeah.
But he got me to look at, okay, I don't agree with him, but I think it's a good thing to look and see, is that what you're doing? Because I don't think jokes like, where the joke is lampshades. Right. Or, I think there gets to be a thing where it's just shock value.
Right.
So I do try to moderate and keep my targets high and evaluate.
And it's also just about trying to figure out why you're coming from this place, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely true. And that's the thing I do in Montreal every year where I give the speech. The more the speech is, that I remind myself that it needs to be a joke first. Because Letterman does a thing where he'll do a mean joke and he'll go, I'm sorry, I thought this was a roast. And that's how I kind of try and have the philosophy of it in a way, even with because I'm not having any personal animus towards Leno. Carolla's different. I have personal animus towards him, and also I'm scared of people like him.
But how would somebody outside make the distinction? How would somebody outside of it say, that's stuff that but somebody outside might not.
I do have personal animus towards Leno, so that's not even correct to say that.
You
Not
do.
but based on my own personal thing, but what he's done to Conan and what he did to Letterman. I think he's duplicitous. I think he's passive aggressive. I think he had no right when it was a ridiculous idea that NBC came to him and said, Conan's taking over in 5 years. But a person, a human being stands up and goes, I don't like this then. They don't wait 5 years and screw everybody else's life up by making a decision last minute. So I do have personal, but I don't believe he's an evil person.
Right.
So there's a certain, and then there's other people I make fun of, like I made fun of Carrot Top over the years, that I don't have personal animus towards at all.
But there's got to be something that irritates you that's bringing that.
Absolutely. No question about it.
But I wonder,
rage sometimes I have.
in a way, you've taken on this position to sort of stand up for what you feel is your own morality in terms of with Leno and stuff. So with the Leno situation, you're saying, I don't feel this is right, and I don't. But you're kind of taking on another battle. But why?
Why am I taking on the battle?
Why are you taking that battle
That is, it goes back to the point of that this is wrong, something's wrong, and it's wrong, then it's wrong. And I think that's also a thing that I've tried to moderate as I get older, because there's a great documentary called Swear to Tell the Truth, and it's about Lenny Bruce. Robert Weedy did it, who did Curb Your Enthusiasm, and he did the documentary about Woody Allen. And Lenny Bruce says the truth is what is, and everything else doesn't. I'm not saying exactly right, but he basically saying it is what it is in a way. It's like I heard this like a religious guy, and he was saying, I forgot what religion he was on. It's on the show on NPR about religion, and he was saying the older he gets, he realizes that the truth is what it is. The world is what it is.
Yeah.
And having a spirituality doesn't come from changing the facts. It comes from how you look at the facts.
Accepting them too.
Yeah. So, but I think that's the root thing is this is wrong, and I must be the person to right it.
But it comes at the expense, perhaps, of your own opportunities, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Oh, it could wind up hurting me. That's true.
Right.
Right. But then I think I'm comfortable with the fact that this is what I do, so that I will be political. And in other words, like if I'm on a channel or whatever, I don't have to say the show I'm doing stinks and everyone involved with it stinks. But I have come to realize that this is what's what, and I hate to say like this is what people like about me, because this is also what I like about myself. This is my role in life in a way, and I've burned so many bridges, and I just hope that I'll be able to. And I've been lucky to be able to make a living, because that's all I really care about is paying the bills. Otherwise, I don't really care. So, but you're right. It could hurt. It could hurt me.
Because I've burnt bridges myself, not so much lately, but earlier in my career.
Yeah.
And I used to obsess about it.
Right.
I'd be like, I've ruined myself. I'm ruined in the business. I've destroyed everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I asked myself for a long time, am I just trying to self-sabotage? And it did come down to fear, I think, for me. I was just afraid, I think I was afraid of being found to be a phony. Like, oh, this guy's not a real comedian. So just burn everything and then take people's mind off of it. And then ultimately I became comfortable with the fact that, I'm a very funny guy and I am a comedian and I don't need that anymore in a way. So that was for me a thing.
Well, my whole life is the thing that bothers me more than anything else, or the thing that I need to be concerned about, is that I'm constantly worried about what other people think about me. It's ironic, if that's the right word, that I talk about like I'm not that way. I do what I believe, but I really do care, and too much. And so like every couple of weeks, when I'm feeling healthy, which I mostly have a good, I wake up in the morning and I'm happy. My dad's that way too. He's basically a positive. I'm not a depressed, thank God I'm not a depressed person. So every couple of weeks I have to say to myself, you're doing it again. Because it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Like if I remind myself that I'm doing it, it takes me out of doing it. And then and Twitter's a perfect example of everything that is my problem and other people's problem. I'm constantly, I got in these arguments with these terribly detestable atheist people. And I said something like, they were saying, for some reason, you can say spirituality to them, and they don't. It's not a buzzword that they're okay with that for a few minutes.
Right.
But they're trying to find a way that your belief, whatever they. First of all, they think language. Like if I say I believe, if I say I believe I can do that. That's not belief. Like I think the world is 6,000 years old. But they're very focused on your language. What do you mean you believe? So what I said at one point, I said, well, I'm spiritual, and she said, well, how about God? And I said, well, that's the same thing. And so then that triggered it. What are you saying? And then it's like, and I said it in a way that was clumsy, but the truth was, I don't have a problem with the word God. They do, because I know that in my tradition of the way I look at things, the word God describes something that you can't describe. You can't put it into language. You don't really know what it is. You have a sense of it. It's like it's like Karen Armstrong. I'm a big fan of her. She's writes about religion. And her whole thing is like, religion done right is something you do, like dancing. It's like, in the old days, incense and chanting and the stained glass windows. It's to get you out of your head. That's the same thing with comedy. You could be the funniest person in the world and not be aware of this, but you really are entering a zone where you have logic, you have intellectual abilities, but that's not the breakthrough. Is like when you don't know where you are, what you're doing, you're just doing it. Same thing with martial arts. I study martial arts. They call it no mind. It's like the best way to defend yourself is if I'm not. The old story is the teacher said, come in the room and defend yourself. So the guy goes in the room, he looking to the left, he gets hit from the right. He looks to the right, he gets hit from the left. He looks up, he gets hit. When he comes in not looking at all anywhere, then he's ready to defend yourself. Well, no mind, Sartori, God, spiritual, it's all words for the same thing. But then I get trapped in this argument online, and I am fucking, and that's the thing that I have to let myself go. And this is really true about myself. Like, I want to be the cool guy on Twitter. In other words, like not a hip, but that it doesn't, because I love when I'm like someone says something negative and I banter back. That's great, but you can't be that way all the time. And of course, I learn my lessons. Don't engage. That's a lesson you need to learn. But in the meantime, I have to let go of like I look like an idiot. I look back at tweets from like 2 weeks ago, and it's like I sound like an idiot. You know what I mean? It's like I have to let go of that. I need to sound like a genius, or need to sound clever, or need to sound cool. Yeah. And the more you can let go of that,
the more cool you
the
sound.
more human you are. It's just a matter of being human. And it's like, you were saying like, what's the root cause of these? Why I talk about this stuff?
Yeah.
It's like the whole thing with Woody Allen. I mean, nobody who instantly made the decision that he was a pedophile, whatever, had any knowledge of it, zero knowledge. They read an article in Vanity Fair, like that's supposed to be the voice of God. And then this Nicholas Kristof guy who I think, if I was in charge of the New York Times, I would fire that guy. And I think the New York Times is like a shell of what it used to be. But here's a guy who used his column, nothing against the person who came out, Dylan, and it's nothing against that person because I really don't believe anything negative. She has the right to do anything she wants. But like a lot of people pointed out, what if you've been abused in your family? Can you call Nicholas Kristof on the phone and have him tell you your story?
Yeah.
It's like Mia Farrow used her power influence. Nicholas Kristof, he knew nothing about it. He gave up his column to legitimize something about a guy who writes about child abuse worldwide. Now isn't he basically saying, I think this is true. And then he admits he knows nothing about it. So I was enraged that people made this decision. And all I said was, I'm not pronouncing him guilty. That's all I said.
But couldn't the same argument be made with Jay Leno with the whole Conan debacle when everybody jumped on him?
No, because I think he has a history. Well, first of all, who am I to judge? It really is true. It's like, I'm not judging Jay Leno as a terrible person, but that's something I'm intimately involved with. I know people wrote for The Tonight Show in the old days. I think Jay Leno's trip is pretty transparent. It's not something that was 22 years ago. He took over. He screwed over.
Well, that one, I guess the difference is the personal involvement.
The personal involvement and the actual knowledge. I'm not just going on rumor. And I'm not saying, like, to me, I always thought, like, Conan had all these. I love Conan. I think I love him. When I used to go on his show, he was always great to me, and I love Andy Richter. But he had all these high-powered people around him. The best top, they couldn't see. None of those people could see. Hey, 5 years. You don't buy this Leno saying this thing in 5 years. Who would when it happened? I said, "There's no way Leno in 5." I mean, I couldn't predict exactly how it was going to play out. So I do think that's way different. But drawing conclusions based on things you don't know drives me crazy. But then I realized the root cause is I wouldn't want to be. If you're a guy, you're afraid you're going to get unfairly accused.
Right.
Also, I came out to L.A. When I came out to LA in '78 was when the McMartin trial happened. I don't know if you remember the McMartin. It was a preschool thing where they were coaching kids to say things that never did happen, and in that case, it was proven that all these things that they said happened were pretty much didn't happen. It's like there's still some murky areas.
It goes back to our guy, people creating.
That's
history,
exactly right
in their head.
They create history in there. So I had that personal knowledge, but yeah, I will cop to the fact that I relate to it of what if I was correctly accused of something.
Yeah, I mean,
and a woman would react the other way, and I think that's natural. Not a woman, not every woman, because a lot of women stuck up for me, but some women would say, just go right to the abuse part and not even think of anything else.
It's an interesting thing that you have these two things where it's like you're very worried about what people think about you, and you're also very worried about thinking about these other people.
Yes. It's exactly right. Because I used to say, and I hate when I talk about myself in third person, but people go, "Oh, he's fearless." I go, "No, I'm not fearless. I'm fearless and fearful." It's not like I don't care. And I even after 28 years of comedy, when the crowd doesn't get me at all, it's not fun for me. But that's different because I think comedy is a relationship between you and the crowd. So if I have two comics in the back who are enjoying what I'm bombing. Then it's fun for me,
Right.
But I can't always create my own fun. Like I don't care what you people think. That's not really true. But I'm compelled. I am compelled to say these things.
What I've found personally is when I'm worried about what people think of me, I usually find that it has to do with me worried about what I think of myself.
That's true. That is exactly 100% what it is. And that's why I learned all these people who I thought were my friends. And I'm not saying they're not my friends, but this one woman came on and she said, like I said something about Woody Allen, whatever it was, or I retweeted something, I retweeted the Robert Weedy article, or I retweeted something, and the woman goes, "Don't do this, Andy. Don't make me not love you anymore." And I just said, "I'm blocking you. I'm not living in a world where you're going to morally condemn me based on my opinion on the thing." So, you realize that you really can't trust in a community, or you really can't trust in anything except your own view of yourself, and not that therefore you should walk around like a jerk. But you can't. It sounds like new agey stuff or psychology 101, but you can't. At some point, you have to not be happy because others view you happy.
Yeah, happiness must come from within.
That's right. Did Foucault say that?
He probably
in his
did,
last book, Foucault about it?
I don't give a Foucault.
Yeah.
All right, we have a little bit of Foucault's writing here to take a look. Maybe he does say it. Maybe he does say it. Look, how about that transition? Does he say it? I don't know. Maybe he does. Let's take a look at the text.
I like that. For many years now, historians have preferred to turn their attention to long periods, as if beneath the shifts and changes of political events, they were trying to reveal the stable, almost indestructible system of checks and balances, the irreversible processes, the constant readjustments, the underlying tendencies that gather force and are then suddenly reversed after centuries of continuity, the movements of accumulation and slow saturation, the great silent, motionless bases that traditional history has covered with a thick layer of events. The old questions of the traditional analysis: what link should be made between disparate events? How can a causal succession be established between them? What continuity or overall significance do they possess? Is it possible to define a totality, or must one be content with reconstituting connections? Are now being replaced by questions of another type. Which strata should be isolated from others? What types of series, I don't know what that word means. What types, OFSERIES, should be established? What criteria of, I think I messed up. It's not a word. What types of series? I tried to make a fake word between Alex, who didn't separate, and I thought, oh, it's a psychological word. Of series. What type of series should be established? What criteria of periodization should be adapted for each of them? What system of relationships? No, what system of relations, hierarchy, dominance, stratification, univocal determination, circular causality may be established between them? What series of series may be established? And in what large-scale chronological table may distinct series of events be determined? In other words, he's saying, the first part of the paragraph is that he's basically saying that throughout history, there's been this fiction of history,
right?
Taking all these events and putting a thick layer of saturation. You know, it's like there's like these motionless, there's fixed ideas of things that happen always. You know, like the French thing. The more things change, the more they stay the same. So he's saying that's what that people have looked at as a, you know, however we look at it, we know this will eventually happen. How can we fit our ideas?
Right.
But the second part is, because but now the old are now being replaced by questions of another type. Now, is this what he's saying? Is this other type? I don't know if he's saying that.
I think that is what he's saying.
He's saying you look at it, how it all connected to why they were saying.
Yeah, I think he's saying to take a look at the connections to find the truth.
Yeah.
It was a tough text to try and decipher. It was but I think he's saying that in order to try and understand a real picture of history, we have to look at how the events connect with each other to try and determine what's real. But I could have.
No, I think what large scale chronological table? I think he is saying that's his thing. Yeah, I think he's clearly saying that. If I'm wrong, if we're wrong, we stand and sit corrected. But I think he's saying, like, what the determination of what happened historically, how did that, that has to be what he's saying, because he's saying what system of relations, hierarchy, dominance, stratification, so that's like saying, like, the country is whatever, let's say country's looking at like their own genocide that happened. They go, well, no, this is the way it was.
All right, let's see the next one.
The imaginary is not formed in opposition to reality as its denial or compensation. It grows among signs from book to book in the interstice of repetitions and commentaries. It is born and takes shape in the interval between books. It is the phenomena of the library. All right, so what he's saying is that when people form what they think is an imaginary, which is not the real view of history, but it's the imaginary view that you've come up with.
Right.
It's not
opposed to reality.
Yeah, it comes from reality.
Yeah. So imagination, you're still pulling off a source, which is reality. You're just maybe twisting the reality in some way, but it's still based off of the same shit.
Right.
In other words, if you don't take anything in, you can't imagine, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And also, I think what he's saying is, don't think that these things are like, it's just I came up with this crazy idea.
But it doesn't make sense in a way because you're creating an alternate reality, aren't you? I guess
What's
an
the
alternate reality is still a reality, but it's not a reality based on.
Well, no, his what.
I'm sorry about the dog.
Don't worry about it. What he would say is, say, I don't want to create an alternate reality. I want to stay open to that. I'm not creating a set in stone thing. He would probably say, I'm open to changing my beliefs. So like his belief system, quote belief system, isn't locked in stone. He's not saying there's no way to look at these things, because that whole other thing that was difficult was saying you look at it by looking at it in larger context. And the last one is, do not ask who I am, and do not ask me to remain the same. Leave it to the bureaucrats to see that our papers are in order. That is really great. That's great, because that resonates with what Karen Armstrong says, who I'm such a fan of. She says that it's always dangerous to go, and I do that in my own family and friends. You go, oh, you know how that person is. Even if you are right that you've discovered negative things about someone, don't bring that into your future with them. That's the way they're always going to be, and that's very evolved to be able to say, don't lock me into a concept. And I see people do that all the time. They think you are the way you were 20 years ago, or think you're never going to change.
Right. Yeah. We were talking about burning bridges when I was younger, and I used to do that more.
Yeah.
There are still people that hold that perception of me. They're like, oh, that's that guy who's going to...
Right.
Well, I'm not the same guy anymore, and I'm not going to be the same guy I am now in 5 years or 10 years. Hopefully it's an evolution.
Also, your concept of people, it's so interesting, because like my concept of people was, oh, I'm the only guy who burns bridges or everybody does it. It's like our images of everyone being well adjusted. Everyone's not so well adjusted.
We're all fucked up.
And that person probably doesn't want to have a good opinion of you for some reason, because of a competitive thing or whatever. But
maybe
it's unless you stab them.
What I found is, as I go, is that I think people want to believe that you're good. I do. I used to think that people want to believe that you're bad, but now I think people they want everyone to be good, because we want to be surrounded by good people.
That's true.
So
I think people basically I am an optimist about humanity. I think there's terrible cruelty, but I do think that ultimately most of them are good.
Right. But I think also, like, when you meet someone, I used to meet someone and think, oh, this person wants to hate me.
Yes.
And now I think, no, I think this person wants to like me. I just got to give them a reason to like me. But I'm comfortable with knowing that I'm a nice guy, and I feel good about who I am, and I do good things. And why the hell should they hate me? There's no reason. I just have to convey it to them. Hey, I got introduced to somebody important recently, and the person who introduced me says, this is Danny Lobell. He's one of the good guys. Right, and it was one of the best introductions I ever got. I felt
that's great. Yeah.
He's one of the good guys. Okay, I'm one of the good guys. I don't know who the bad guys are, but I'm not with them.
Yeah, I think that's 100% true. And it's like I also think it's important I try to watch this in myself all the time. I don't do it as much as I see other people do it, but I try to drop preconceived ideas, and this would be what Foucault is talking about. Like, I have to admit, like, Louis C.K. did a really funny bit once about, like, I think it was Louis C.K. about how, like, we feel fine calling people white trash. Like, that's okay for us now. Like, yeah, you idiot who can't afford anything but a trailer. Yeah. You stupid. That comes from, he's revealing that is a prejudice that we have. And I have the same, and my dad was always very judgmental. He's still alive, but he's very judgmental, but he's comfortable with it. But I try to be like, I don't want to judge someone because they're blue collar, what I mean? Because, and in general, I'm pretty good at that. I can have a tendency to be almost too, like, ignore anything about somebody sometimes because I want them to be like the guy in the jacuzzi. You want him to think he's. So sometimes you have to have that side of your body that your antenna goes up. That's totally cool. Just don't fix it all the time.
And the guy in the jacuzzi, I used preconceived notions with giving him the benefit of the doubt. I heard an older Englishman,
Right? Yeah.
and I immediately thought, okay, this guy's he's dropping some knowledge in here.
Right, yeah.
And as it started to make less and less sense, it broke down my preconceived notion for good. But I had given him the benefit of the doubt, and I didn't expect an old white Englishman to be a homeless man. I didn't expect it.
Right, and the thing is to constantly balance being able to see what really is happening. It's like it's admitting prejudice. It's like admitting, like Bill Cosby, I think, was always angry at All in the Family because he thought it made it okay to be prejudiced and something you could be laughing at the Archie Bunker.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a great show because it showed that he wasn't. Now, not everybody who has prejudices is evil. You know, you had to love Archie Bunker.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Now it's a TV show, so I'm not saying that's in the real world that way, but you had to love him because good people are prejudiced and good people do bad things.
And it gives you an understanding maybe into humanity on a deeper level that not everything you believe about people is true.
Right.
You know, not this guy who comes off as prejudiced or somebody you could say who's anti-Semitic might just be ignorant.
Exactly.
And uneducated. And
right. And mostly I think it's that way or from their own pain.
So maybe it's a good depiction.
It happens on Brooklyn Nine-Nine today. Shows like that get into these heavy... Sure, you have some shows that deal with these social issues, like Two Broke Girls. Yeah. But not many deal with these deep issues.
I think if all the shows were as good as you want them to be, that would piss you off too.
I would hate it. Hate it. I can't do comedy based on things I love.
Yeah.
I love what's happening with our global, that we're starting to reverse global warming. No joke there.
It has to stay bad.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know how that brings us back to the philosophy. Sometimes I want to have a great way to bring it all together.
And so I think that we've learned today that, as Foucault says, do not accept things as they are and say why.
Right.
Dream of things that never were, and go into some kind of a dream world. And you know what? I'll record several of these. Okay. And you know what? It kind of brings it all around to how Foucault would have dealt with it.
Yeah, it comes full circle.
Yes. Right. We both are not, we're not exactly like Foucault, but we're not unlike him.
It's a great forced ending.
Yeah. Yes. I'll do another one. You know, it's interesting that you looked at me that way because I imagine that's how Foucault, when he was at Lycée de collages, that's how he felt.
When he did the collages.
Yeah. He also liked Fridays.
Can you make it even more? How much more forced can you go with it?
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, the light bulb just went off. The light bulb just went off. My whole life has been a sham of creating a history of my life that I thought was true instead of looking at what was. I have not had a real, genuine moment to this podcast.
I just came back from the war. I don't even know.
Right.
What are these mics doing here?
I am blind. How blind could I have been for I did not want to see?
Andy, it's always a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, man, this was great, Danny.
Thanks so much.
So great.
Thanks for coming and doing it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for listening to another episode of Modern Day Philosophers. I appreciate you guys so much. You have no idea. Please write me and say hello, even if you have already. Even if you haven't and you're on the fence, just send me an email, thecomical@yahoo.com. I love to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think of the show. Let me know how you're doing, who you are, what life is like. Say hello. Donate if you feel so inclined. Every donation helps, and I don't just use it on chickens. That's moderndayphilosophers.net. There's a PayPal button there. You send a donation of $20 or more, you get a free pair of tweaked audio earbuds. And if you have a minute and you want to help me out, please do jump on iTunes, go to the iTunes store, and leave 5-star rating and some nice comment for me. Even if you've done it before, it helps out a lot. You can do it again. And shucks, it would mean the world to me. It really would, though. I'm being sarcastic, but it would help me out a lot. So please help me out. Go leave a nice comment on iTunes. And that's it. Hope you're doing well. See you next time. Great show coming up. I won't tell you about it, but I hope you tune in and listen to it. And I hope you guys have a great week. And I hope everything's going well for you. And I hope to hear from you soon. Okay, bye, everybody.